Welcome, everybody, to the Town Board meeting of Tuesday, January 8, 2019. I only have really two announcements. We have from the Newcastle Police Department, Until Help Arrives. It's a program designed to educate and empower the public to take action in an emergency situation and provide life-saving care before professional first responders arrive. Newcastle Police Department will be offering 4 Until Help Arrives training sessions on January 26th of this month, this year, and that'll be in the newsletter. And then we have, there's probably other stuff I can mention, but it's a concert on March 9th at Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. That's going to be done with our exceptional, Every Person's Connected group. It's going to be an interactive and inclusive family concert, spotlighting the special needs community, playing with the orchestra. So that's going to be very nice on March 9th. And as far as my supervisor report, school safety, just want to remind residents that we have a Newcastle police officer stationed at Horace Greeley High School. And during times of heightened concern, like last week, Newcastle police visit each school daily. I think they do that anyway. And increase patrols. And I agree with the sentiments expressed by Superintendent Christine Ackerman. They have Chappaqua Central School District has a strong partnership with Newcastle Police, and we're all laser focused on keeping our students and faculty safe. So thank you to your department for everything over the last week. It's been residents that were somewhat concerned. So
Understatement of the year.
Polly Kuhn, former town supervisor of Newcastle, has passed away, and I'm going to have a link in my supervisor report from a nice tribute from the League of Women Voters, which I encourage everybody to read. As far as our downtown project, operations have ceased until April 1st, although we will be doing work starting tomorrow and Thursday, and that is to reduce the size of the sidewalk to restore the 4 or maybe 5 parking spots in front of Ibiza Kitchen, Family Bridges, and Petticoat Lane. And we may reduce the sidewalk even further in the spring, but and we have our traffic consultant looking at this, as well as checking what the turning radius is. And certainly addressing the cutout on Center Street as well. So that's that. As far as Chappaqua Crossing, or Maintenance and Protection of Traffic Plan, the MPT plan, as we like to call it, that was recently implemented, has been increased safety, is operating efficiently. Traffic continues to flow well with no significant traffic delays on 117 or on Roaringbrook Road. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So far, so good.
And we've made a few adjustments, including the removal of the no turn on red sign at the intersection of 117 and Roaringbrook Road. We'll also be making adjustments to the signal timing at the high school, as well as the traffic light on 117. And what else? Would be restriping tomorrow, the pedestrian crosswalk and the do not block markings on the street, and the stone crushed path from Cowden Lane to the entrance of Chappaqua. Did they work today? I know they're scheduled.
I don't know if they worked today because of the weather, but they were scheduled to work today.
Right. So it's hopefully be done by Friday.
It's the plan.
Right. And we have some at Greenfield here tonight requesting that Lifetime Fitness and Pet Value be permitted to open on February 1st. And we'll be talking about that later. I know that one utility pole, they've been making good progress with that, and they expect it to be removed on or before January 31st. And I know you're also working on relocating the bus stop inside the site. And
My recollection, the county has it still, correct?
County has the bus stop? Yes.
Right, when I say has a bus stop, we're waiting to hear back still.
We have asked Avaya Meyer to look into it from the Westchester County Executive's Office, and we provided her with the information that she requested, so we're waiting to hear back from her.
Any idea, or you'd be speculating?
I don't know what her decision was going to be, but I can tell you that.
I'm sorry, I meant timing. I should.
No, I don't. Hopefully it'll be shortly. I mean, I could ping her again probably the end of this week, and hopefully we'll get some more details on that.
one of the things she asked for, I know, when you provided, was the amount of employees from Whole Foods and the anticipated amount of employees from Lifetime that will be using the bus.
Yes.
There's a number there's a lot.
Yeah, there's about 270 total employees between Lifetime and Whole Foods.
Wow.
The majority of those coming from Whole Foods.
Using the bus, or that's a total number of employees?
That's what they estimate will be using the bus.
Wow.
Wow.
And while we're at it, one of the things that has come to our attention from just driving on 117, sometimes late at night, it's not your responsibility per se, but there's some employees, I would assume, leaving Whole Foods pretty late. And just want to make sure Whole Foods is aware of that for the safety of their own employees, that
Yeah,
that's a
walking.
windy, ugly road to walk at night if you're going to the train
Right.
from Chapel Crossing.
I could certainly
Just
speak
they
to
should
their
just be aware
manager.
of that,
You
yeah.
know, I've heard similar concerns in terms of the late-at-night shifts ending, but we can certainly ask them if they have any plans for that.
And we have the shuttle service that we're going to be working with you guys on working together, and maybe that's one of the issues we
Maybe a
address,
solution.
and maybe we work with Whole Foods as well, so that their employees are kept safe, so. So that's it for my supervisory report, now on to the town administrator's report with Jill Shapiro.
Thank you. Second half school taxes are due Thursday, January 31st, and there's no reason for anyone to wait till the last minute. Weather's very unpredictable in January. Our tax office holds post-dated checks, and checks can be brought in as early as this week or mailed, dated January 31st, and we will hold them until Thursday, January 31st for deposit. We also provide access to an online system on our website that allows for a no-fee payment of your taxes by ACH, and there's also a credit card option that has a service fee. Since it's January, it's obviously time for us to be advertising our summer internship opportunities. If you or someone you know is a resident and will have at least 1 year of college completed as of June 2019, with knowledge of GIS, the town is offering $1,500 6-week full-time internships with the town. In addition, there are a couple of administrative internships available, as well as DPW opportunities for those people looking to work outside for the summer. This summer, if you're 19 years old with a clean driving record, like working outside, we have 2 positions for painting fire hydrants at $15 an hour. And applications should be directed to me at jshapiro@mynewcastle.org, and if I could get them by February 1st, we can start hiring. And last but not least, on pothole repairs, I know a lot of people have been responding to Supervisor Greenstein's reminder about potholes at mynewcastle.org. Those repairs are weather dependent, so it's not that we're ignoring you or we're dragging our feet on the repairs, but when it's wet out, we can't do those repairs, and when it's bitterly cold, we can't do the repairs. So rest assured that we've got your email if you're sending them, and they're on the list, and please be a little patient, and we will be out there fixing them. Thanks.
Okay. So, now we got the construction update, so how should we handle this? We have three
So-
different people, three different groups per se here. We have Lieutenant Carroll from Newcastle Police, we have our Sam Schwartz Consulting, Lou and Don are here, and then we have representatives for
Yes, so
Summit
Lou, do you
Crimson.
want to maybe come sit?
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I think you should go first.
All right, I like that.
Isn't that great? Wait a second.
Do you want me to go there? I'm pretty loud.
You know what, you just
mic.
need the microphone,
Okay,
so
I
so
can
they
do
can
light.
hear
I
you.
can do
The mic is for the people at
As long
home.
as the people in the room can hear, I'm picking up the audio separate, so don't
Really?
worry so much about the microphone.
So this is,
Oh, all right, okay.
Separate with that thing up there, new
Right, that's
technology.
that's what's doing it.
Okay, so the first thing is that we started conducting traffic counts at the 4 different access locations. So this is 117 here on the right-hand side, by the train tracks up here, and across from the high school is in this location. So we did these traffic counts both before and after the Whole Foods was in operation. And a couple of purposes. One is to obviously get a number of traffic volume and different movements and get that information, but also get a handle on how many vehicles are really coming in that are Whole Food related during the different time periods. So the Whole Foods opened up on the 15th. We did a count from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. on the 13th, so that was our before. And we did an after on the 18th, which was a Tuesday. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to do a Saturday before, and so going forward for other pieces, maybe we will have that opportunity to do that. So what we found on the first line here, or the first row, is this is from the counts. So basically, we have 44 vehicles that were entering the various locations that were destined for the Whole Foods. And again, the way that we did this was to look at what was happening before and whatever activity was happening on the site before, and then what was happening after, and it really was just that difference in traffic volume between the two. So 44 during the AM school peak hour from 7 to 8 versus 21 that was a trip generation estimate from Mazur's report. And you could see as we go through the other three peak hours, the highway peak hour 8 to 9 was 63 versus 42. The PM school from 2:30 to 3:30, 124 versus 112. And the PM highway 139 versus 127.
What do you chalk such a discrepancy up to?
One is
At
that
least for the AM.
it was, well, for the AM, I'm not sure, but I think the whole thing is that we did anticipate having more traffic volumes than what was estimated.
Right.
Because it was brand new, because it was December. So those two factors lead me to believe that these numbers were higher. And the numbers that we have will probably come down somewhere between, what they are and what was projected them to be.
Also, Whole Foods, prior to opening, they bring in about 100 extra people, to set up for the opening and to go through opening weekend with, I think they told me it was 125 additional people from their standard employees.
Yeah, I would attribute some of that early stuff to maybe the contractor activity
That
too.
too.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, that's true.
thank you.
Because the driveway in front of the high school was really dead in that early hours. And majority of the activity for that 44 was occurring near the sawmill and off of 117.
They're also doing construction at the high school. I don't know how much traffic that's generating, but they are doing construction there as well.
So as far as we're concerned, we anticipated it being higher. This is in the range of what we thought the volumes would be. And probably in February at some point, the whole food component will probably come down a little bit to somewhere, again, in between what was out there and what was the trip generation estimates. So we could come back to that, or we could keep on going. Oh, I guess I have to go the other way. All right, so from a recommendation standpoint, if we look at the intersection, the new signal of Roaring Brook Road, site access, and the high school, one is that we would like to increase this westbound left turn, which is coming from 117, making the left turn into the school. We want to increase that time from 10 to 15 seconds, so we're adding some more green time
Is that
for
upside
that.
down?
What was that?
Is that upside
That's
down?
the left close 117,
That's a,
right?
that's a left going
Oh,
west?
he's
so-
talking about the left from Lawrence.
Th-
It's
this-
actually Roaring Brook Road, not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Roaring Brook Road, the left,
No, you're talking
To go
about
into
the
the high
left
school.
from Roaring Brook Road into the high school.
yes.
Yeah, it's very short.
Okay, I'm just confused, all right, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think I have this right.
All right, I
right.
was confused to where we were.
Maybe my text is wrong.
Yeah, no, that's right.
It's fine, I'm
You just
confused
said
to
it
where we
right.
were. My
I said it
apologies.
wrong, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
No, you mentioned 117, but it's okay.
So one thing about the signal is a smart signal from the standpoint that there are loop detectors or sensors in every movement that's around the intersection for every approach. And so there really isn't a time of day timing plan to put in, because the sensors really detect the demand of the traffic volume, and then the traffic signal itself allocates green time based on that. So what we can do, though, is ask for the maximum amount of green time to be extended, and we'll have that conversation with the contractor, the electrical contractor, to get that in place. And so, for instance, what Don was observing out in the field is that from the high school, and again, if you're making this right turn coming out, or this northbound right turn coming out of the high school, there's a green arrow for that right turn. And so the way that the signal works is that if this approach is going, and once this approach is done and it gets a red signal, then the southbound or exiting from the Whole Foods, they get the green. It is what we call a split phase, or it operates independently, and that is okay. The only thing that we want to change here is that what's happening is that if this right turn is going and then there's no one on this approach, which definitely happens sometimes, then the traffic signal will skip this phase and then go to these double, the left turns in each direction. And when the left turns are going in each direction, this right turn is allowed to go because there's no conflict. So what's happening is that when people come up here with this right turn, they'll see it go to yellow and then red, and if there's no one here, it'll go right to green again. And so people are stopping and they're not sure if they should go or not go. So we will work with the electrical contractor in that if there's no call or there's no one here, this green arrow, this right turn green arrow will stay green then when these left turns are going, and then it'll become yellow and red. So it'll first allow a few more seconds, but also that indecision time period and that moment will be eliminated. So I
They can
think
still
that
they can make the
will
red
help.
a red though, right? I mean,
Well, not the buses, right?
Not the buses, but what everyone else can. Yep,
buses aren't allowed to make red and reds?
right. That's correct. So we have obviously some minor changes and repainting of the existing pavement markings that are out there with a more epoxy type reflective paint so that will stand out a little bit more instead of whatever type of painting material has been used so far. At the intersection of 117 and Roaring Brook Road, again, two things. One is we wanted to increase this northbound lead phase that has the left turn and the through movement to give them a little bit more green time. The right turn on red signs have been removed and eliminated. I understand that there really hasn't been a major issue and that's the reason why I suggested putting in the right turn on red to avoid any conflict of the right turning vehicles with these northbound left turns at the same time going into this one lane approach. But it doesn't seem like that is a problem, and the right turn sign, no right turn on red signs have been removed. In addition, we noticed that in many of the peak hours, the eastbound Roaring Brook Road left turn going northbound onto 117 is definitely a higher volume compared to the right turn. And so we wanted to give a little bit of extra time for this eastbound approach to satisfy that. We didn't think it was a major problem, but I think this would make the operation of the intersection certainly a little bit better. On a whole, though, from an operational standpoint, we think that everything is running pretty smoothly without any incident, without any major traffic congestion at any one of these intersections. And so we're happy with the MPT plan and with the new traffic signal timing. And we, again, with these recommendations, that's really the only thing that we would talk about or recommend. Do you want to go, or do you want me to go to next steps?
That's fine, yeah, I can talk about it as well. The observations in the field were the same for the left turn going into high school and the left turn going northbound from 117, turning onto Roaring Brook Road. We didn't see the issue coming eastbound, making the left, but I believe his numbers, so I have no objection to that. The crosswalk in front of the high school was painted on Sunday. I just spoke with Dave earlier. I'm recommending that all the paintings be redone down by the western entrance and by the train tracks. They've all faded as well, and that epoxy be used everywhere. Overall, the MPT plan is performing well and safely. I have taken one officer off and out of the western exit, and we're down to 2 officers starting Monday, yesterday.
So just where are those 2 officers remaining?
So one is gonna always remain at 117 and Roybrook. The other one is at the high school, but, you know, especially during peak hours when they're coming in the morning and for commuters, if need be, I can move them to either other location, but I haven't found a need to have them down by the western entrance at all, so.
You think, I mean, I know you guys are the traffic experts, but you've been observing it a lot. Do you think, I think you're talking about increasing the left turn off 117 by 6 seconds. By 4 seconds, is it?
6 seconds.
By
It
6
was 4,
seconds,
but I
but I
think
think
we
it's
adjusted
4
to
right
6.
now, which is like, you think that's enough, 10 seconds total?
We think so.
I'd have to see it
Yeah.
in work,
Okay.
honestly. But what's the max? I mean,
To
normally.
go west, you mean, right?
To go
So
west, you're
from
increasing by
north-
4 seconds.
From
To go
northbound
east, you're increasing by
117 to
6
westbound, Roybrook
Right,
Road.
yes.
I'm talking
We're
about
increasing that
the-
lead
Oh, you're talking about
left.
the northbound left?
The lead left.
Yeah, the
That's
north,
the,
Yes.
that's the 4 seconds.
That's the 4 seconds, that's right.
Will that be sufficient for Lifetime and other businesses when they, and for that matter, I mean, maybe a little ahead of the game, when housing comes in there? In
It'll
full
have to be
capacity.
looked at
By the
each
time housing gets in there, we'll have a dedicated left-hand turning lane
Right.
there.
right, but there's always a left, that was always been that problem, is that left turn lane. I mean, it's not a lane, it's the cars making the left that you,
117.
off 117.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, but it blocks 117, that's the problem.
that left turn has been an issue. It's performing well, but if I would say on that intersection, we would certainly might like more time on that left-hand lead.
Right.
Is 4 seconds, it's 4 seconds, is that enough? I couldn't tell you if, unless I was observing a field, but Lou's
How
looking at the
long
studies.
is it now? It's now 6 seconds. We're increasing it by 4 seconds to make it a total of a 10-second left-hand.
I believe that is the case. We can check that number.
I mean, that's the only complaint I've heard throughout this whole thing, was that
Right.
left turn.
Northbound left. So, I mean, what we can do is, we could also be out there when the electrical contractor changes the timing, see how that works during the peak time, have them come back out. I mean, we could definitely tweak it. We could start with, you know, I don't want to start with something that's higher than what we need also, so.
How many cars clear per, like, 2 seconds, or how many additional cars do you think increasing it by 4 seconds will?
So
Yeah.
generally speaking, I mean, every second, we can have a vehicle up to maybe every 2 seconds per vehicle if they're just stopped. So from a stop condition, it'll take 2 seconds per vehicle to start to get going and get through the intersection. If they're moving already, then it's basically every second. So we'll get some, we'll certainly get some more throughput through the intersection. Whether it should be, 4 seconds or, 6 seconds in additional time, I think that's something that we could
But
definitely
it
play around
seems
with.
to me that until we have a dedicated left-hand turning lane there, increasing it too much might be counterproductive, because as soon as you get a car that's intending to continue northbound and is not making the left-hand turn, then you've got nobody moving through that intersection for a period of time.
Right, and there's a certain maximum that we could give to the northbound, because then the southbound and the eastbound would have less time, right? So it is a balance, and that's what we tried to do, is to balance the level service of all 3 of the approaches.
When do you think the signal time, the new signal timing will be incorporated with the electrician does it, right?
Yeah, so we've already contacted Nikon. We received the revised timing from Lou today. I should have a date tomorrow, and I just texted them now to let me know as soon as possible, because if you want to be there, we just want to make sure that we get that date coordinated with you.
While we're talking about this intersection, do we have an update yet on the status of the walk-only signal for the pedestrians there?
I do not have it. I don't have that.
Do you guys know by any chance?
No.
So we're still waiting for DOT.
Is that at the high school, or is that on, you're talking about Route 117?
It's for this
Here?
crosswalk
Okay,
right
yeah, no,
here
I don't
on
have, I'm sorry,
117.
I
Yeah,
don't have that. I can get that by next week, though.
that'd be great.
But when the light, when the pedestrian light is pressed by the high school, do all those lights turn red?
No.
No?
No, so when On the longer approach, if, let's just say if it's pressed for this pedestrian crosswalk, then you would still have either the southbound or the northbound that can go, but those vehicles have to yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk.
Right.
And so, I mean, you can set it that everything is red, but it probably doesn't have to be like that for it to still operate safely. This is a normal situation where, you know, you press the button, you have the green as far as the crosswalk is concerned, but other movements are going at the same time.
I haven't had any reports that there were safety issues with the
Right now,
pedestrian crosswalk.
somebody just asked, I wasn't sure.
I've never seen pedestrians even try to cross there yet.
Oh, well, they have,
They're
they do.
used- they're
Well,
using it.
probably early
After
in the morning.
school, they
lunch
do
and
too.
stuff.
They're going for lunch after school, especially on Friday.
They're using it.
Okay, so as far as we're concerned, next steps to implement the new signal timing in the field, again, date to be determined as soon as possible, obviously, would be better. We're going to continue the automatic traffic recorders, the tubes on the roadway that are across Route 17 and across Roaring Brook Road that are capturing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week traffic data. And right now, we're extending that through the middle of February. We're going to calculate the new trip generation for the addition of the lifetime fitness and the pet value. And so I just need to get, and I started to go through what the square footages are of each one of them, and we'll definitely have that information. But what we're going to do is to look at each one of them independently, and so we will come up with what the trip generation, the new number of new vehicle trips should be for the lifetime fitness, separate from the pet value, and we'll compare that against what Mazer has in their latest submission. We should be able to get that done over the next day or so. And then what we're going to do is to do a traffic analysis of the 4 peak hours in an incremental approach. So we will take the data that we have from having the Whole Foods open, we'll add on the lifetime fitness, see how the intersections work, see if anything needs to change, and then we'll add on the pet value to see how that works. We're hoping to get that all done by Friday, and then have a memo to the board by Monday the 14th, and be ready to make a presentation at the joint meeting on the 15th. The last comment is if, in fact, the retail at whatever level is approved, then, again, we would like to do traffic counts before and after the opening, again, to get a sense of what's happening. And if that's the case, then we would be looking at the 23rd and Saturday, the 26th, and then whatever happens, or whatever dates would be after the opening. And that's basically it from us. We're working on the analysis of the 4 peak hours, and we really have that ready, but I'm just not in a position to share that with the board tonight. Definitely at the joint meeting, definitely go through how the intersections are operating pre and post Whole Foods, and then certainly pre and post whichever retail component that the boards are looking for.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody question?
That's really great.
Questions? So, we also have Summit Development here. Do we have anybody have any questions for them on the progress of anything?
I think we wanted clarification on the painting of the crosswalks, the dates of the,
Yes, so we're hoping that that all gets done tomorrow, weather permitting.
Okay.
And, you know, Lieutenant Carroll asked for the west side also to be done, so we're gonna hopefully get that in there tomorrow as well.
And in
so
turn-
that's, I'm sorry.
Sort of no finish. I thought.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify, so we're talking about the crosswalk across 117 where the bus stop is, to the site side of 117?
Yes, and the do not block the box on Route
Perfect,
117, and also
Annandale.
crosswalk at the high school, and then the do not block the box down on the west side by the railroad tracks.
But the crosswalk of the high school is done already.
It's not the
Did on
epoxy.
Sunday. I'm sorry,
I
what's
don't
that?
think it's the epoxy, it's just the regular paint.
Yeah, that might just be the regular paint.
I'd also like the arrows done down by the western entrance as well. They faded.
We'll add that in.
I thought, all the painting down by there, that I appreciate it.
And the
Bring a lot of
internal
epoxy.
signage, was it-
The internal wayfinding signage is up and has been up since before Whole Foods had
I think
opened.
there was an issue, Lisa, when it's quite small.
You just noticed the size, it's really difficult to read. The font size is like tiny. So, was that done,
Well,
why?
there's-
Why is it so
I
small?
mean,
You can't
th-
read it
that's-
when you're driving past it.
That size was chosen because of what the arm that extends out from the light pole itself, they can't hold a really large sign, and that's typical of, that's almost a standard type of wayfinding sign in terms of size, so that we can't put a larger sign on there at this point.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, I guess the sign was okay, the size of the writing on there, like maybe
But
some
there's
of
a
it had
lot
to
of
go to
information,
two
so we're-
lines or something, instead of saying, I don't know, auditorium, maybe there's another way to say it, so you can make it larger on two signs, or to say Whole Foods, straight, it should have.
We looked at that
you know,
at length
two
with our
lines.
design people, and, because everybody, Whole Foods wants to be on there, the auditorium, Chatpac wants to be on there, Northern Westchester Hospital wants to be on there, and, some of our other office tenants. It's a lot of information to put on a sign, and
Yeah, but they're kind of useless the way they are now, because they're so small you can't read it. I actually had to stop, back up, look at it and go, oh, that's what it says? It's so small.
we
But you'll
can-
never have to read it again.
Well, there you go.
So, I don't know, I think you should look at that again.
We can look at it, and we did look at it in depth prior to purchasing the signs, but we can certainly take a look at it.
Okay. Can you also give us an update as to your discussions with homeowners on Cowden?
Yeah. So
on
we
Colony
haven't
for-
started those discussions yet, and
not?
the reason for that is that we have our engineer right now evaluating what needs to be done, what we can do there. There is, right at that pinch point, which I think is the Roses property, there's actually a retaining wall that's there. So our engineer right now is looking at what could be done before we figure out what the ask would be. So we need to sort of figure out how much property and from where, and then we need to talk about what we would be seeking in terms of property rights from them. So we are in the process of evaluating that. Once we're able to determine what it is that can be done and how it can be done, then we'll reach out to the homeowners and.
And so
talk
what's
about-
the timing on the engineering's report?
I'm not sure, but I will find out.
Like, have they started it?
I spoke to him earlier today, and they are looking at it,
So they have started it,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, we've had internal discussions in terms of, what exactly that ask is going to be, how it impacts the DOT, things of that nature, whether it's an easement, whether it's a purchase, whether, all of those issues, including liability.
Yeah, and logistics are complicated by the existence of that retaining wall. That retaining wall will have to be moved. The property line goes right through the retaining wall.
There's a retaining wall or a fence?
No, it's a retaining
Yeah,
wall,
there's a wall.
and that complicates it, right at the pinch point,
Okay.
which is probably why it exists
It's
the
in the
way it
first place,
exists
yeah.
today.
Yeah, because actually New York State DOT won't allow a retaining wall on their property, so it's probably why it's right. That's why it's there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
Anybody have any questions? All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there a resolution, which we'll be setting a joint meeting for next Wednesday? I'm sorry, next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
When's the construction supposed to be done for the, on Lifetime? Close?
Yeah, they are very close. Yeah, they're chomping at the bit. So, if you drove by there tonight, as I did with all the lights on, you can see that they're real close. So they're planning on opening February 1st.
Also, what was I just gonna ask?
Before we let them all go.
I never remember now. Oh, well.
You know where to find us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
All set?
yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, good night, thank you.
An opportunity to raise any points on this?
These,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Do you mind just waiting a moment?
Hang on, don't leave
Nick,
yet.
just one quick sec,
Just one quick-
Shannon, just one sec.
Sorry.
so is it
Shook
a
hands too
question I would
soon.
ask for?
Maybe I remember what I was gonna say now.
Thank you, guys. I like your new microphone.
I know that's in process.
They're,
I don't know.
there has no understanding.
But somebody is looking, actively looking at it?
I don't think you need one.
I don't think we need one. We're loud.
Just trying to make sure.
Anyway, I want to thank you guys very much. My name is John Ehrlich, by the way. I'm a resident, 1 Apple Tree Close, and I directly abut I'm between 117 and Horace Greeley High School. We have a great view of the lights, which never turn out on Lifetime Fitness. But I have several points which I'd like to bring up. Regarding your discussion on lengthening the signal times for the 117 Roaring Brook Road, the left turn northbound,
Right.
we very much appreciate the fact that you've extended that you've created, in effect, a left turn lane, which helps tremendously. What I'm going to recommend is you consider extending that left turn lane. Why? Because the traffic backs up behind us when we're making that left-hand turn, and it's unfair to the 117 through traffic. So I wanted to raise that issue. Do you understand what I mean?
And I think the recommendation is that we're going to extend it by at least an additional 4 seconds.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about time.
Physically,
I'm
the
talking
lane.
about physically, the lane.
Physically, the lane, once we have the dedicated left-hand turn lane.
Well, the point is, as you're constructing, we believe it's important to do that for 2 reasons. It's not only for safety reasons, but it's also so that we're not restricting 117 through traffic, which backs everything up behind us and creates difficult
You're going to make
situations.
it's going to be as long as it can be,
It's gonna
correct?
be
This is-
eight car lanes, I think, right? Something like that.
Right, the approved
And
plans.
this is the reason why we didn't want to put in a temporary lane, was that
Too
we
short.
felt that the temporary lane was too short, so.
Only 3 cars.
2 or 3, correct.
Yeah, I understand, but even that helps compared to what used to be there. So,
Yeah, I did not recommend having a left turn bay that was 1 or 2 or even 3 cars only.
but temporary.
Well,
Temporary is
You
talking about
didn't, you
not.
recommended
we're
it
talking
not
about temporary,
temporarily.
Yeah.
So in
not
the
to do it.
temporary condition, that's why we're adding additional green time to get the left turns out of the way of the through movement. And from a second standpoint, when they're able to go in and construct a retaining wall on the other side, we'd probably have to take that left turn lane out anyway. So it would be a very, very temporary condition, and that's why we recommended
We'll
not
talk
doing
about
it.
the retaining wall in a second. I have that on
I
the
saw
other
that.
side going right down.
I would just also add too, that we looked at Apple, we were concerned about the Apple Tree Close too. And especially in the eastbound direction, going from Roaring Brook Road to 117.
Yeah.
That 8 to 9 a.m. hour,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough. The queue will stand back beyond Apple Close Road. And
Apple
that
Tree
is the
Close.
only break in the median, and that driveway serves 6 or, I don't know. 6
I
or
know,
7.
well,
So you can't
that-
make the left.
no, I know, but we never do. Well, what we do if we're going to the Parkway, Sawmill River Parkway. So then you make that's where you, and that is going to be, but some of the stuff we've got to get used to.
But one of the recommendations we'll make is to reduce the frequency of that happening.
Okay, well, I'm all for reducing frequency.
That's what the additional time on the left.
That's really the.
Okay, my second point, I wanted to make a point to the board that the light on Roaring Brook Road is effective, very effective, and it's easing the flow eastbound. So while you may still have a problem going westbound, I want to say that it's much easier to go out of Apple Tree Close and go rightbound. And I think it's just as important for us to talk about what's working as what's not working. just, in all fairness and in honesty. So that was enormous. It's done very, very, very well. This point I'm going to bring up is important, and we should deal with it because I'm noticing causing great confusion. My point 3 is that you really do need to move that 35-mile-per-hour sign that happens to be located within the 25-mile-per-hour zone. So you've got electronic signage that is telling you that it's 25 miles per hour, and you're mitigating, speeds at that point, yet you still have the permanent signs up on the southbound side. And that's a danger. I've seen it. I do a lot of traveling back and forth between Kittle House and other places where we're experiencing all different times of day. So those signs should be at least temporarily taken down. Now, I know it's not our road, but if you want, I can arrange for the sign to be removed. No, just kidding.
So we could just ban the sign.
Yeah.
We can ask
That-
DOT,
that-
but
that-
the
that
it'd just be
35,
banned.
that 35 mile.
The way you
because
just
it's
said that was
causing
frightening,
confusion.
like you're gonna break someone's legs?
He's got people,
He's gonna go out
he's
there
got
with a
people that take down
sledgehammer.
signs.
He's got people.
Lieutenant?
And you got a lieutenant right here.
These aren't candy canes. Anyway, hey, what, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, what do you want? Okay.
The cane is not just to keep them up.
All right. The, item number 4, the
How many
right
items
turn.
are there? Just curious.
Excuse me?
How many items you got? I'm just curious. I just like to know the beginning,
Don't
meaning.
worry, I won't talk nearly as long as you guys have.
Well, just how many items? I'm just
Okay.
curious.
The right turn lane on southbound. We wanted to know, my question is, when will the wall be moved? Because that it's restricting, it causes a pincher type thing. I know it's temporary.
Yeah, it's temporary, but it's also there right now protecting the single pole that
The pole,
remains.
right.
And that pole will be removed by January 31st.
I understand that, and it's great, but I'm just saying that we've got a nice lane there, and one thing is good, is it's a speed mitigation measure. So because the lane narrows so much, it forces people to slow down, and that's a good thing.
But after January 30th, that's gonna be,
Right, once the pole is removed, the wall can come down.
That was my last question,
Okay.
that I remembered.
It's just protecting the pole
Has
so people don't hit it.
Verizon been there? I mean, I know
No,
that,
so Altice and First Light are finishing up this Friday, then Verizon takes over.
oh, I thought they finished already, those guys. No, okay.
Don't wait for Verizon. I'm telling you, they're impossible.
They were in town today, right?
Yes, they were.
All our small poles are coming down in town. Verizon was there today.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're shorter than they used to be. They haven't removed them
so
yet, but
silly.
they're,
Oh, really?
but they're significantly shorter. They're about 6 feet tall
we
now.
all
It's
are.
like silly.
how many cars?
I want to make the point that one of these conditions that we were meant to satisfy in order to move into the phase 2 and get the approval, I'm sorry, I'm looking over your shoulder at David.
No, it's
at the
okay.
moment. I
People always look
apologize
over
for
me.
that. But one of these conditions to move into the phase 2 approval, right, was the removal of that pole. And
Correct.
so,
Right.
if we actually still have Altice and, what was it, First Light?
It's,
Yeah, they're
That
off.
are finishing their work and then
Yeah,
Verizon
they're-
still
they're
has
gonna
to
be
do
finishing up
theirs.
on
It
Friday
sounds
the
like it
11th.
could be a little bit tight. And if we're trying to look for this approval
we have
on
been assured by
Tuesday, that's-
Verizon that they will be done by January 31st.
Well, first of all,
And then
the
how long to
approval-
take the pole out and the wall
No,
down?
they will take the pole out by January 31st.
Is it usable, is a road, I'm sorry, Rob,
Go ahead.
I have the conch. Is it usable at that point in
It's paved
time?
underneath the,
Yeah,
the
they did
concrete
that,
barriers, yes.
right.
So it's ready to, for lack
It's
of a better term,
ready
ready
to
to rock and roll?
go.
On the, what I was gonna say is the approval can be contingent on that pole coming down.
Yeah, of course,
Yes,
right.
correct.
Yeah.
We'd want to repaint the lines as well.
Yes.
I didn't realize you were such a painter.
It's the epoxy that.
How many
you get.
cars-
You should become a really big epoxy fan.
How many,
It
how many,
smells good.
Well, you're the glue that keeps the town together, what can I say? So the
How many-
epoxy award.
how many cars does that queue?
Right, he's making a note right now.
I don't know the answer to that, Chairman. I would
He
assume that
probably
Lou would.
does.
Do you know how many cars that right lane queues once it's fully operational, turning south, westbound going south?
It's about
Wait,
8.
I'm getting confused here.
No, no,
It's about 8.
Southbound making the right turn.
Making the right, yes, thank you.
Yes, so-
That's quite
And-
nice.
Which is what?
What's the question again?
How many
Southbound
cars?
going west,
How many cars fit?
how many will queue once that lane is fully operable?
Before the turn.
Once the pole is out?
I might have it in my notes, actually.
120 or 130 feet.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it is that big.
So how many cars?
So
I figured
that's
8 to
probably
10.
about 6 to 8 cars, depending on the type of car that's there.
Well, in this town, everybody has an SUV, a big one, and
Then it's 3.
usually a Land Rover or a BMW or something.
If it's a Mini
Then it
Cooper
would probably be
convention,
5,
it's
5 or
You said-
6. Yeah.
All right, next point, John, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. All right, moving on. Point 5. In terms of your discussions regarding the evening rush hour, one of the things that we have noticed is that there's heavier westbound Roaring Brook Road traffic. And it wasn't one of the traffic periods that you were noticing. Why is because there's a lot of people after work, 5 to 8, seem to be using the westbound Roaring Brook Road.
After 6 PM?
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, by the time people get here from their jobs in the city or wherever they are, it's a longer. So I'm noticing that there's an extended evening rush hour, and that only the westbound, not the eastbound traffic, only the westbound traffic
Right.
has increased. So I wanted to call attention to this board for that.
Let me just,
People should take the sawmill.
I'm just going to say, I looked at my notes. Assuming this is correct, the southbound right turn lane is supposed to be 165 feet, and the northbound left turn lane is going to be 155 feet.
Okay, that's good.
It's my notes. I'm not saying it's correct. I have that written down.
Well, 155 feet, that's good. That's about, 8 to 10 cars.
Yep.
John, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Please do.
It may be on your list, but I want to ask Lieutenant Carroll. Have you noticed a lot of trucks on Roaring Brook Road?
I received one complaint about it, but no, I haven't noticed a lot.
We've received a lot of complaints about it.
It was a
I
40-foot
mean, it
truck.
may be that they're not turning off of 117, that they're coming out of either coming over Roaring Brook Road, the sawmill, and coming that way, or coming out of the site.
I spoke with Dave, who spoke with Whole Foods, and part of their lease agreement is that they can't use Roaring Brook Road. And if we can get information that anybody's violating it, they say they will no longer use them as vendors, but I can certainly,
So can you ask the officer too, who's stationed on Roaring Brook Road at the high school,
to
to kind of,
Well, you're not able to enforce because then you'd be leaving the spot, right? I
no,
mean,
no,
can
but
you
they're
enforce-
right there, they can at least see where the truck
You
is
can
coming
video them
from.
if you want.
they can still enforce it.
They can,
if that-
okay.
I mean, they're not gonna pull out during school, coming and going, and if there's traffic, if they're needed, but they can enforce it on top of that.
Well, somebody
And
sent
they
us a
can see
picture
who the
today.
vendor
And
is.
just make sure maybe they
I
take notes of who
forwarded
they
that.
are.
The
so we
vendor is, I
can-
think
I
that
also
would certainly
spoke with
help.
Whole Foods about that. One of the things that we're looking at doing is installing a sign as you come out of the rear of the Whole Foods parking lot
Right.
that says no truck traffic on Roaring Brook Road exit. Please use
That's good.
Route 117.
I'll say they don't even get to that exit.
We were getting that graphic done.
New drivers and stuff like that, yeah.
Something approvable for proof.
Yeah.
There's also truck traffic going in the old way over from the westbound side of the sawmill, going down that part of Roaring Brook Road.
Right.
We've noticed there is a lot more truck traffic these guys are trying to make a living, and it's new for them too, so in all fairness to them. So it's
Everyone's
just,
noticed it coming through Lawrence Farms East too.
yes.
A ton of truck
Maybe Whole
traffic
Foods
coming
can,
that way.
whatever they're doing is proactively further, hey, guys, make sure you don't. it's
I'm
posted with
actively
sign.
addressing the
They have
westbound side
responded
as
each
well.
time that we've emailed. I've
Yeah,
gotten a text from
we're
Rob
not
and
trying to be
others,
difficult,
and
just trying to-
every
trying to
time
get
we-
that.
Yeah, we talk to Alex, who's the manager over there.
Okay, so we know, so even, okay. I think the last point at this part of the discussion I'd like to raise is I know that there have been many complaints about the Klieg lights. I call them Klieg lights, I don't know what they are. It seems mostly, I mean, having done my share of performing arts work, it looks very much like it's an aiming problem. It's not, I know why they're there to provide more additional, or were there, and I think they've been mitigated to a large extent, and I know you've heard about this, but
Yeah, I've heard about it.
yeah, I'm sure you've heard about it quite a bit, as a matter of fact.
Once it's right.
But I think John's
think
right,
we've
some of
addressed
it
it.
just needs to be angled, I think, down a little more.
We have reduced the time now that the lights go off at 7:30 PM. We eliminated the light from the Horace Greeley Roaring Brook Road traffic light, so that's done. So the only lights that are remaining
On
are
117.
on Route 117,
Yeah.
and they are off by 7:30 PM.
I understand.
And
I'm just
when-
thinking about my
when the
neighbor,
lights are-
Mr. Lewis, and,
Yes.
you know.
And when it's actually the proper one lit, which I think we've gotten down, the angle is better, so the bottom.
Well, I will say, even tonight, coming here, it was obviously lit by the time I drove here.
Yep.
And it is a little blinding. It needs to be angled
Which one?
down
The-
more.
the
The
one-
one on the
117
corner of 117 and Roaring Brook Road.
On the
needs
site,
to-
the site
On the
side.
site side. It
So
needs
when
to
you're
be
going
angled
north.
down.
Yeah,
When you're going
north.
south.
Yes, but when you're going north, it blinds you.
Oh, and it blinds you going south, too.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like it just needs to be angled down a little more.
My last point at this point of the discussion is I think we should be doing more to, not educate, but choice of word, to inform our residents, because to get used to this situation is going to take some time. And we've got a lot of people that are trying to do this, and
What situation?
the.
Traffic.
Well, but a lot of the things we've been talking about is just getting used to it. And as we get used to it, for example, you said that, it's typically, 2 seconds per car. Now, because people aren't familiar, it's really 4 to 6 seconds per car, because people are unfamiliar. And the right-hand turn, people are unfamiliar. So I'm noticing that these backups are continuing. Now, how do we get them to know? If you put it out there, people are going to read it. Oh, it's on the website. They're not going to go to the website. So what we try to do is just to the extent that we can let folks know about all of this, it's great. And this board has done tremendous work in thoughtfully managing this issue. Okay, I'll be the Caniac and
So our
sit
our
down.
public hearing will be next Wednesday. We'll see you then, John.
No problem.
No, I'm just kidding, it's Tuesday. All right, very good. So that'll be our public comment also, since pretty much nobody else is here. So now we'll move on to, anybody else for you guys? No? Now it's official, now it's.
I have a question, we don't have to do it now, go, I can ask you.
Well, ask.
Real quickly, I remember a while back, and I could certainly be wrong, that we thought about the possibility of widening westbound Roaring Brook Road. The homes were on the north that are no longer there, and then you have divider on the south.
Yep.
And that you could potentially, it's not wide enough now for 2 dedicated lanes.
Going
And-
westbound.
Westbound, correct. Number one, assuming that you could widen it, would that help anything, or that's really a moot point with the traffic measures
I
that we've
think it would
taken?
help,
And
definitely would help.
How would that help, in what capacity? What would that mean?
You would be able to have, I mean, the
Shown on the drawing.
the right turn and the left turn, sorry.
That's the
I'm
wrong,
the
that's the wrong,
place.
right,
Hold
that's
on.
right.
Even the future right turn and the left turn lane would both be able to get into their own lane.
Simultaneously?
Simultaneously, yeah.
So,
And
so,
then they would be able to go towards the signal obviously would be able to queue up 2 lanes of traffic instead of 1, depending on where you're going at the Roaring Brook Road signal. So it helps in storage and it helps facilitate the turns.
do you
There
know
will-
whether or not that wasn't a measure to be taken because of the water underground wetlands and things like that? Is that why that couldn't?
Say, I don't know the answer to that because I wasn't involved at that time. I do know that there would be issues with DEP because of that and because of the additional impervious surface coverage. And I think that's what took so long to get through the process to begin with.
Well, the whole,
Would that equate to the same
traffic.
issue if it was taking a piece, if it was possible, of the median in the middle? So in other words, expanding slightly southbound, or that would not,
That-
Any increase in impervious surface.
Doesn't matter
will
where.
have-
Right.
Doesn't matter where it is, any increase in impervious surface.
any,
will
or
be an
are we making up a number, 10 square feet, 30 square feet?
Any.
Or is
No, any.
We're at the
Any.
max.
Any.
We're at the
Any.
max.
issue. We would have to,
And it wouldn't cause a problem if you had a
with the,
dedicated right
turning
turn lane and then
bus.
dedicated left turn lane. Then you've got people in their lanes, but they may be needing to switch because one wants to go to the high school and one wants to go straight. So I would think that might actually cause more of a
Yeah,
problem.
they'd have to merge back, I would think.
They wouldn't have to merge or go from one side to, yes.
In a very short,
That,
In a very short span, I would think that
So
would
there's
actually
benefits and-
be more
and-
troublesome.
Detriments, thank you, couldn't find the word, good job. All right, sorry, I'm done.
Okay,
Go
now
now.
it's real.
Go, run.
Thanks, Lou.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
Southbound right turn.
Big Newcastle day, Lou, all day.
yes, it's been good.
Don't get too used to it.
The left turn comes on.
All right,
don't get too used.
I don't know, I just gotta do it.
I like them, I think they do a great job.
next, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, resolutions, payment of claim, look, you guys take
All
over
right,
this.
I authorize the hiring of Nicholas Cipriano to the position of laborer with the Recreation and Parks Department. Annual salary, $47,182.43, effective January 22nd, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to issue a request for proposal to solicit for a contract with a vendor to maintain, manage, and secure the town's email distribution list for a regularly published, that's what quotes, community e-newsletter.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I move to approve the revised contract with Sani Pro Disposal Services Corporation as amended on January 3rd of this great year for municipal solid waste and recycling services.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Joseph M. Durkney to the position of Program Coordinator for Newcastle United for Youth Coalition at the rate of $25 per hour for a guaranteed minimum of 15 hours per week, not to exceed 20 hours, without prior approval from the steering committee, effective January 10th, 2019, subject to background check and fingerprinting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve payment of claims in the amount of $410,587.76. 2018 expenditures totaling $347,926.45, and 2019 expenditures totaling $62,661.31, listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detailed voucher detail reports, all dated January 8th, 2019. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, January 9th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept the following monthly reports for December 2018. Town Clerk, Court Clerk, Development Department, and Receiver of Taxes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I move to adopt a local law to amend Chapter 60, Article 4, Section 410, subsection H5C1 of the Town Code of the Town of Newcastle concerning requirements for construction, alteration, or enlargement of accessory apartments in one-family residence districts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to schedule a joint meeting with the Town of Newcastle Planning Board on Tuesday, January 15th, 2019, at 7 PM here in the Assembly Room at Town Hall.
Second.
Oops, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize entering into an agreement with Student Assistance Services Corporation in support of the Newcastle United for Youth Community Coalition Drug-Free Communities Support Grant in an amount not to exceed $4,680 in the period of October 1st, 2018 through September 29th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any other ones?
Is that it?
Add-ons?
No add-ons?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.